I read mine, sorry to disappoint. So, I'm very happy to be here. Thanks so much to Lynn for asking us to come, and we had a great dinner at this awesome French diner, which doesn't seem like things that should go together in my mind, but it was delicious. And I'm really, really happy to have my friend Michael here, who's a poet who lives in Miami, who I've been very, very lucky to get to know and exchange poems with over the last year. So my first poem is dedicated to him. It's called Describing Green to My Colorblind Friend. Smell of alfalfa, texture of polished wood and water, and the crook of your elbow. Green is both dark and daytime, new hard-covered books and foot races across the sand to dive into the sea. Green tastes like mint and hay and joy. I wish I could explain it better. Imagine this. You wake up one night when the moon is very high and the ceiling is made of leaves. You sit up and fly from branch to branch. Every perch in the canopy of trees gives you a different view of the moon. It looks like the marble you secretly put in your mouth and held on your tongue when you were 5. As you move, you see it is spilled wax, an opening fist, a dolphin's back, a fingerprint, a clover. It is a mirror, and it shows your bird self, perfectly ready to sing yourself back to sleep and dream of the wild places of the earth, lifting their faces to be kissed. So now I'm going to read just a couple of poems from my book, and then I'll come back to some new stuff because it's always more fun to read new stuff. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm always most in love with my latest poem. This first one is about my longest-standing celebrity crush, who happens to be Colin Firth, from the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice. Ira has quite an amazing imitation of Colin Firth, in which he makes Colin Firth sound like a complete idiot, hoping that this will somehow make my crush go away, and it has yet to happen. So the poem is called After Watching a Colin Firth Movie, I Think About Quantum Mechanics. And the epigraph is, from the many worlds viewpoint, the universe is like a tree that branches and rebranches into myriads of new sub-branches with every passing picosecond. I know we are lovers in some alternate reality, I think. Though, of course, I do not know if we are, or if, knowing him that way in another world, I would tell myself I am better off in this one. And I remember when I fed our dogs a second dinner in the late evening, habit guiding me to pick up the bowls and fill them with hard, dry food, and then went back out to the living room and sat down beside my husband, who said, "Did you just feed the dogs?" I said, "No." Looked at the TV and then cried, "Wait," as if to stop the 5-minute-old me from carrying out this stupidity. I think my track of routine intersected with another track from one of those myriad other worlds in which I'd made some other decision, perhaps as recently as that morning, and put on the black socks instead of the brown ones, which somehow led to me getting home late and feeding my beloveds 5 hours after their usual time. I would like to explain how I do things without consciousness, the way, driving, I find myself home with no memory of any turns, or after a stop sign, wondering if I did actually stop, or just blew through oblivious, lucky no other drivers moved temporarily through worlds where they had no stop sign, worlds where our straight roads turn on themselves, where voices call out to negate our silences, and kisses tumble from the sky like ripe plums, sweet, soft orbs that have no idea whether they're falling into this world or the next. And yes, I did just realize I read 2 poems in which kisses appear. Maybe I'm a little obsessed. In fact, my next book, or my next manuscript, I should say, because no one's offering to publish it yet, is called What the Mouth is Made For. The answer, of course, is apple, word, kiss. This next poem is about how terrible I am at being a visual artist. You know, we all have these hopes that will be, if you're artistic in one part of your life, you'll be able to spill over into other parts, and that's not me. I was the worst artist in my 3rd grade class. My sculpture project was a lopsided pot with a handle decorated around the rim with clay pebbles the size and shape of my thumb tip, into which I carved smiley faces with a toothpick. The teacher's smile was both bemused and patronizing. How could a girl so smart have so little aesthetic sense? When we got back our projects from the kiln where they'd been fired into permanence, I knew how pathetic mine was. Besides the ungainly and impractical design, some of the pebble faces had fallen off in the oven, the blue paint I had chosen looked dripped on, and not charmingly. It was supposed to be rich and glossy, but on my pot it was weak and thin, a faint sheen in places and completely bare in others. I'd wanted to give it to my mother to believe it might emerge from the heat, improved beyond recognition. Instead, I clutched that pot to myself in shame, looked with envy on the elegant dove my table-mate held in a pink that matched the fringe of her fabric-colored notebook, and turned my back on my own artistic versatility. But I didn't throw it out. I couldn't. It was ugly and heavy, a failed making, but those smiley blobs of clay spoke in my voice. They couldn't help I hadn't the skill to give them something beautiful to say.